This is Jim Williams with the Hurricane City Tropical Update video for July 22nd, 9 p.m. Here's the HurTrack program showing the current position of newly formed Tropical Storm Bonnie in the central Bahama Island chain. Early this morning, Invest 97L became Tropical Depression number 3 in the southeast Bahamas, and then the Hurricane Hunter aircraft went out there this afternoon and found we have tropical storm force winds. There's the latest fixes from the Hurricane Hunters. They're no longer flying. They're headed back to base. But they found a tropical storm at 1920 UTC this morning, this afternoon rather, and then at the next vortex message, this is the center of the circulation. They found winds 45 knots at the surface and a pressure of 1,005 millibars. And then the last vortex message they dropped this evening, the pressure was up 2 millibars to 1,007 millibars and 32 knot winds at the surface. So the system is kind of stabilized since the Hurricane Hunters went out there this afternoon, and you can see a general northwest motion. If you connect the dots here and extrapolate, that would be basically northwest. What's going to happen is this is going to move a little bit more to the west in the next 24 hours. I'll show you the forecast track on that. But back to the HurTrack program, there's the wind field near Long Island, Bahamas, and the yellow areas indicate tropical storm warnings, and the green area here from northern Dade all the way up through Jupiter are for tropical storm watches. Now, these may be shifted further north if the northwest trend continues. But again, this is expected to bend back toward the west, toward the northern Keys. So we'll see if that pans out. Here is the position of our system in reference to some of the points in the Hurricane City database. For example, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 294 nautical miles to the southeast of Fort Lauderdale, and 334 nautical miles east-southeast of Key West, Florida. Now, you might say, well, Key West is closer, but it's a little bit further to the west. But anyway, let's go ahead and animate this and show you the forecast for the system moving generally west. Let's go ahead and run that one more time, and then we'll go frame by frame here. This hits Andros Island in the wee hours of the morning, tomorrow morning. And then it heads towards the Florida Keys, and the tropical storm force winds arrive around 1 p.m. tomorrow afternoon in the Florida Keys. Now, our current feature at Hurricane City is Key Largo, Florida, and the countdown clock has been activated on the front page of Hurricane City. I believe there's like 13 hours or so before this gets affected by tropical storm force winds. Then it goes through the Florida Keys. The center approaches in the evening hours tomorrow as a 50-mile-per-hour tropical storm, and then the system cruises off just north of due west into the Gulf of Mexico and continues as a weak system in the Gulf of Mexico with 50-mile-per-hour winds as it heads up towards Louisiana. And that's the forecast right now. This is to remain weak. Now, this is the BAM-D model. This is the best performing model 3 days out so far on the system since it was 97L. The BAM-D has an average error of 73.7 miles, and that's been fairly consistent in its accuracy over the past 3 days. So that is the best performing model. That takes it through the Central Keys and into the Gulf of Mexico. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our system. Here is the forecast track from the National Hurricane Center again. Sunday evening, approaching the central Louisiana coastline. It's a 50-mile-an-hour tropical storm. Not much more difference in strength of what it's going to be when it hits the Florida Keys tomorrow. And then it moves inland in Louisiana. Now, this will disrupt the oil recovery efforts going on out there. They've already canceled some work out there, and there's going to be some rough seas. So this will affect that area and may drag more oil on shore. We'll have to see about that. Here are the models. And again, the only two models that take it through the South Florida area right now are the GFDL, the BAM medium model, and the LBAR, all take it through South Florida. The other models, the Canadian, the GFS, and the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center have it slicing right through the middle and lower Keys. So we'll have to see if that bend to the west takes place. Now, this is what's important. This is from sailweather.info. Let me pan this out. This is the map of the pressures right now in the Atlantic Basin. And notice all these pressures out here. 1,016, 1,015, 1,014, 1,014, 1,013. These are very high pressures for development of a tropical system. And they continue high in the Gulf of Mexico. So this is not a very low pressure environment. Generally, you don't see large systems. You might see a smaller system, and it's going to be very prone to weaknesses when there's high pressures in the area. So this is not in a very favorable environment for strengthening due to the pressure fields out there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the floater loop of the water vapor of this system. And you'll notice in this picture, this is very interesting. We have the upper level low in the Gulf of Mexico, and what's happening is that's pulling away from the system, and what it's doing is dragging the air like this right through this system and kind of stretching it out. Meanwhile, we have a high pressure ridge to the south that's causing clockwise flow like this. So the system is being stretched out from east to west, and it wouldn't surprise me if in the overnight hours this may weaken a little bit. In fact, the GFDL model indicates that this could weaken as it passes through South Florida, and it's going to remain in an unfavorable environment in the Gulf of Mexico because of that continuing upper level low out in front of this. But keep an eye on the stretching of this system. This is something to keep an eye on during the night. Tomorrow morning, you might be surprised to find we have a weaker system. It's a possibility. It could also strengthen. There's a little burst of convection tonight. Notice all the bright magenta colors here on this vapor loop. But again, the system's being stretched a little bit, and this might end up weakening during the night. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Now let's take a look at the entire Atlantic Basin and kind of get an idea of what's happening out here. Again, we have this upper level low spinning right here. And what's happening is you have this almost burst of wind that from the southeast pushing through Tropical Storm Bonnie right now. Now we also have a pretty good burst in the Gulf of Mexico that's could almost become a tropical depression, may still become a tropical depression as it moves into Mexico, but that is running out of real estate and is going to move inland. But Bonnie here is going to move through Florida into the Gulf of Mexico, and it's going to remain in an unfavorable environment because of this upper level low. Elsewhere, things are pretty quiet out here. We have nothing to be concerned about in the short term out here in the Atlantic Basin. Well, that's it for now. We'll be back tomorrow morning, probably, with another tropical update video, and I'll have more information about the live cams we're going to have streaming here at Hurricane City and down in Hollywood, and some other things that might take place if this hits South Florida as a tropical storm. That's it for now. Thank you again for visiting Hurricane City.